What is the biggest hoax that people still believe? You can lose 25 pounds in 3 weeks and never feel hungry while eating all the delicious foods you want. Just call this 800 number. Quote, one big lie that some people still believe is that cracking your knuckles causes arthritis. It's been debunked, but it's amazing how many still believe it. I think the amount of people that continue to fall for hustle culture and the snake oil salesman push it. There is huge emphasis in modern society on not only being rich but being rich young by the simplest, fast means necessary. It's honestly depressing how many people continue to purchase masterclasses, workshops that all filled with surface-level near useless information. I've met more than one person who turned down a raise because they thought they'd end up making less money because of taxes. Nah, son. Nah. There are dozens of hot local MILFs wanting to get fucked in your city. City location: Gary, Indiana. All that detox health science bullshit. Your body already has a detox system. It's called your liver. Married folks. What's a non-sexual thing you look forward doing at home only when your spouse is away? Sleeping on the diagonal. I had a day off work today. Husband was at work. Kids at school. So after I did the school run I came home. Wrapped myself in our softest heated blanket. Lay on the sofa and watched 3 movies with no interruptions. It was bliss. The quiet. My husband constantly has the TV on, even if he's not watching, and I enjoy silence. My wife is in recovery. 6 years sober. And I support her in every way possible, including, obviously, no alcohol in the house. If she's away for a few days, I'll grill me some steak tacos and wash them down with a really good Cabernet. The wife is a picky eater. When she is away, I either make a meal that she doesn't like or I go to a restaurant that she doesn't care for. It's the little things. Tears of joy. Hike all day. Get the shitty Chinese takeout that she hates and I love despite knowing full well it's objectively not good. And drink some nice beer while watching movies all night. What's a commonly taught historical fact that just isn't true? Most of the well-known medieval torture devices never really existed. There's no mention of the Iron Maiden in history texts prior to the late 18th century. And all known examples of the device are forgeries or replicas, created around the same time. Similarly, there are no authentic examples of the pair of anguish. Nor is the device attested to in any medieval records. The various examples that are on display in various dubious museums are almost certainly of much more recent construction, and would not function as described anyway. Columbus had trouble getting funding for his voyages because everyone thought the world was flat, and he'd sail off the edge. Most everyone knew the world was round and had a pretty good idea of its size. They thought he'd run out of food and water before he could reach the Indies because of the vast distance. He thought the world was much smaller than it is and could sail there in time. IOW. He was very wrong. But lucky. Napoleon being a short king. The Library of Alexandria wasn't destroyed in a great fire. It did apparently catch fire during an attack by Caesar but wasn't destroyed and was instead actually undone over centuries due to neglect and lack of funding. The Gutenberg Bible is not the first book printed using metal movable type. The first book printed using movable metal type is Jichi from Korea. It was printed during the Goryeo dynasty and published in Haengduk Temple in 1377. Which is 78 years prior to Johannes Gutenberg's acclaimed 42-line Bible, printed during the years 1452 to 1455. UNESCO confirmed Jichi as the world's oldest metalloid type in September 2001 and includes it in the Memory of the World program. Lemmings don't actually follow each other mindlessly. That horrible documentary that showed they do involved the director literally throwing lemmings off the cliff to make it look real. What lesser-known preventative medical tests, screenings, procedures should people in their 20s or 30s get? Gum, dental and mouth health. Serious. It's not just teeth. My best friend had some serious cancer crap in his throat. Caught it early because of a silly sore throat. It wasn't just a cold. Had no clue. Saved his life. MD here. STI screening including HIV, chlamydia and syphilis can hide with only subtle symptoms. Have seen at least a few positive cases. Where there's no history consistent high risk. Even if you're monogamous, don't risk it. Not a test that you get, but a freebie you can do yourself. Get to know your boobs or your balls. You do not need to be old to get cancer. The earlier you catch a difference to what's normal for you in those areas, the better your odds of getting through it relatively well. Go to a dermatologist for a full body screen, check. Sun damage is real. Definitely get a skin cancer screening. No one thought that I would have anything, but I went just to get checked a few days after I turned 21. Now I'm halfway to 23. And I will have to go every 6 months for the rest of my life. I have gotten 4 stage 2 melanomas removed since that first appointment. This is the first time since then that I am cancer-free and I no longer feel sick all the time. Get screenings and immunizations for sexually transmitted infections. What product, unbeknownst to most people, has the highest markup? Fountain soda. The entire reason fast food places want to sell you the meals is because they want to sell you a soda that costs 10 cents for $3. The margin on the rest of the food is more like 10 to 15%, while fountain sodas are like 90%. Flavored seltzers at a brewery. The beer costs 10x as much to make, but they charge almost the same at the tap. Caskets and pretty much anything for funerals. Funeral homes completely take advantage of people during the worst days of their lives. It's disgusting. Glasses. Luxottica owns most major eyewear stores. Costs them a few dollars to make and you pay hundreds for them. Back in the day, text messaging. Back in the early 2000s I was managing a restaurant. Garlic bread was selling for $3.95 and cost $0.07 to make. Not all food items are equal when it comes to margins. If you could learn the answer to any unsolved mystery, whether it's historical or personal, what would it be? My aunt died a number of years ago in a scuba accident. She was a scuba instructor and was out with her husband. She motioned to surface. So he did. But she never surfaced. The Coast Guard never found her. They searched the whole area. Followed the currents. Never any trace of her. I gotta know. I'd love to know where Alexander the Great's tomb is. It was rumored to be quite impressive. Don't know if it counts as a mystery in the strictest sense. But I'd love to read the lost works of Homer. The Zodiac Killer. Who left an original April O'Neil doll on my doorstep from Santa in high school? Earlier that month we had been talking about the presents we wanted as kids but never got, and I had mentioned the doll. 20 years later and still no one has taken credit for it. What would have been my best choice as a career path? What do you think is the single biggest thing holding back human progress? Corruption. The lack of efficiency of moving, storing electricity. Greed. If we all worked together as opposed to against one another, we would be so much better off. Since social media was already mentioned, tribalism. Particularly in politics, US specific. Earth's escape velocity. The mentality that opinions greater than facts, especially when that opinion is 62 equals 12. Subscribe, my brothers.